Hello, Facebook family and friends. This is Quan's story of the day. Share this story with a young person today to make sure that they're getting their reading experience in. This is called A Journey to Freedom, written by Rose Howell. After a hard day of picking cotton, Jed went into the slave cabin. He lay down on the narrow board that was his bed. A few minutes later, he heard his mother, Bess, come in. Jed expected to feel his mother's soft kiss and to hear her whisper, "Good night." Instead, Jed heard her whisper, "We have to leave this place tonight. Master Boyd is dying." When I was sewing in the plantation house, I overheard Master Boyd's son. He said that he plans to sell some of the young slaves as soon as his father dies. Jed shuddered. He knew that Master Boyd had promised never to separate him from his mother. But Mr. Boyd's son had made no such promise. Slave mothers and children were often separated forever. His mother had always told him that she would never let that happen. But what could his mother do to prevent it? "Get up, Jed," said his mother. "Get your coat and hat and be as quiet as you can. Not a word until I tell you it's safe." Jed quickly grabbed the things and followed his mother. Jed was sure his beating heart would wake the others before they left the run-down slave cabin. Bess held her son's hand tightly as they darted for the woods. Jed slummed along after his mother. His mind was full of questions. Where were they running to? How did his mother know which way to run? Neither of them had ever been outside of the plantation. After what seemed like forever, Bess finally slowed down, holding her finger to her lips. Shh. She pointed to a spot behind a clump of evergreen trees. The two of them dropped down on the bed of pine needles. After a very brief rest, Bess pulled Jed to his feet again. "We have to get away from here as fast as possible while it's still dark," she said. "We'll find a safe place to sleep just before the sun comes up." Bess glanced up at the sky as if searching for a signal. Then the two were off running again. After several nights of running, Bess finally felt safe enough to explain a few things to Jed. "If anything happens to me, you need to know how to go on alone," she told Jed. "You must follow the North Star, the one I've shown you every night of your life." Jed nodded. "Don't tell anyone your real name," Bess said. "Not at first. Anyway, not until we are safely on the railroad." "The railroad? We're going on a train? Where are we going?" questioned Jed. "It's not a real train," said Bess. "It's called the Underground Railroad because it's invisible unless you've been trained to find it. We'll search for safe houses or stations." Jed suddenly realized that his mother had been planning this journey for quite some time. "I wish I had been able to carry more food," said Bess. The biscuits she'd bought were long gone. Bess and Jess scavenged for berries and roots. Jed didn't want his mother to know how hungry he was, nor how tired and scared. He plodded along after his mother. He could not shake the memory of his mother's words. If anything happens to me. Just before sunrise, they spotted another hidden place to sleep. The following night, they hadn't gone far when Bess stopped at the edge of a clearing. Peeking out from behind his mother, Jed saw a house. Bess started toward it. Mama, we can't go to a stranger's house. There could be people there who want to send us back. How do you know they'll help? Jed, I've been learning about this railroad for a long time. See the lantern hanging on the hitching post and the quilt on the line? These are signals that this is a safe house. Grabbing her son's hands and running quickly across the field. They knocked on the cabin door, and the door swung open. Jed was quite surprised when a white man and a white woman welcomed them inside. The man introduced himself as Otis Willis and his wife, Mary. Look at the two of you. Your feet are all cut, and you must be starving. We'll soon remedy that. Mr. and Mrs. Willis brought out soup and bread, and from under the bed came a box full of clothing and shoes. You can take your pick, but I think it's best that we disguise you, said Mrs. Willis. She showed them a poster that Otis had found on a neighbor's barn. Jed and his mother stared at the piece of paper. Neither of them could read. Reading, writing, and even resting were forbidden activities for plantation slaves. It says there's a reward for you, $500 for you, Bess, and $300 more for Jed. That could tempt some folks. We must be prepared. After Bess and Jed had eaten, Mrs. Willis helped them pick out clothing and shoes. Bess and Jed quickly changed into the new clothes. A knock on the door sent Jed into his mother's arm, but Mrs. Willis assured them that everything was okay. The visitor had called out, "I'm a friend of a friend." That's part of the secret code for people who help. The visited man would be their conductor, taking them to the next safe house. The two runaways were put in a wagon that had a false bottom. Cages with chickens were piled up on top of the wagon. Bess and Jay lay in the wagon. They were hidden by the false wagon bottom and clucking chickens. After what seemed like an endless ride, the wagon stopped. Neither Jed nor Bess moved until the conductor told them it was safe. The new safe house smelled of trying onions and garlic. They were welcomed into the house and led into the kitchen. Mr. Scott, the owner, gave them each a bowl of food and told them to hurry up and eat. He opened up a cupboard beside the brick oven, revealing a hidden passage. "Wait in there until we get rid of the slave chasers," he whispered. Bess and Jed shared frightened looks as they climbed into the cupboard. It led to a secret room. There were several beds. Jed and Bess were soon sleeping. They awoke to their host bringing food. "Sorry we had to hurry you up here," the Scots explained, "but we heard the slave chasers and their dogs. We cooked strong smells to throw the dogs off the scent, and then we welcomed them to dinner." Of course, they had no idea that we were really part of their problem and your solution. They've gone now, but to be on the safe side, we'll let you rest here before you begin the next part of your journey. The next day, Bess came down with a fever. Jed and the Scotts cared for her until she was well enough to travel. Then another conductor took them on a long journey to the edge of a river. He handed them ferry tickets. The ferryman, too, was a friend of a friend and quietly took them across the river. They were met by a young black woman. She introduced herself as Rose Ham. "Are you a runaway slave, too?" Jed asked her. Rose smiled. "I'm here. I'm free. I was born free. You're in the North now, and you both are also free. In several hours, I will have you over the border and into Canada. There, you'll have the freedom to make your own decisions." Bess wept tears of joy, and Jed threw his cap into the air. "When I'm grown up, I'm going to be an Underground Railroad conductor too," Jed declared. "That would make me mighty proud," exclaimed Bess. "But we have much to do and much to learn before we get to that." The end.